Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Talk with Brian Poduska. I'm Lyndon Wilson. I am the creator of The Difference and producer of Real Talk with Brian Poduska. I'm going to bring Brian in now with Real Property Management Focus. Good afternoon, Brian. How are you doing?
Great, Lyndon. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, doing good. Looking forward to this show today. Couple of well, one of them may not be able to make it, but good friends of both of ours, and talking about a subject that I really enjoy talking about. But how is everything with you, and how's everything with Real Property Management Focus?
Yeah, you know what? Things are great. Personally, doing well and staying healthy and trying to keep it that way. And yeah, business has been picking up over the summer ever since the halt that happened back in April or whatever. We've been rocking and rolling. So all good here.
That's awesome. Tell everybody a little that may not have watched or seen the show before, and that know you a little bit about Real Property Management, what you guys do for your clients and the people that you work with.
Yeah, sure. So Real Property Management Focus, our tagline is we focus on your real estate investments. And our key clients are those who are intentional investors. So obviously we'll help anybody who needs property management help. And what we do, our basic services are, tenant placement, tenant screening, property advertisement, property management, rent collection, maintenance coordination, eviction, all the things that are your standard property management services. The thing that makes us different and from the competition is we, obviously we pride ourselves on communication and integrity, but we also work with the intentional investor on analyzing their properties or potential properties and helping them find that right long-term buy and hold property. So we have a tool called Wealth Optimizer, which is what we use to sit down with our investors and walk through the long-term benefits from every angle, not just the cash flow piece, but how it benefits them from a tax standpoint, depreciation, write-off, appreciation, all the things that go into owning a long-term buy and hold type property.
Sweet. Sounds complicated. I guess that's why they hire you.
We try to simplify it as much as possible.
That's right. Take care of it. So you got a guest today. A lot of people around The Difference know him. A lot of our other show hosts. He's a great guy, and going to be talking about something that I think is going to most everybody's going to find interesting, and we're going to talk a little bit about how we can all get involved and help. Part of the difference is the things that make the difference in our lives, in our businesses, in our careers, and especially in our community. Today, we're kind of focusing on that community aspect of what your guest does and what they've created. So if you want to introduce him, I'll bring him into to our little section right here so everybody can get to see who he is, and we'll get going.
Awesome. Yeah. So I want to bring in a good friend of ours, Shannon Cagle, works for the Payne Insurance Group, and Dustin Payne may join us a little bit later if possible. The owner of the Payne Insurance Group. I've known Shannon for quite a while now, and I wanted to bring Shannon on today, talk about a few things. One, the underlying theme of just giving back, and he's going to go into a little deeper dive on a project that him and Dustin and several others have founded, a nonprofit organization called Creek and Timber Legacy. And I won't steal his thunder, but it's an awesome nonprofit for people that we should all appreciate it. And they found a great way to give back to those individuals. So without further ado, I'll bring in Shannon Cagle. Hey, Shannon.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Good to see you, Shannon.
For joining us today, man. The underlying theme, as we've talked about today, is the spirit of giving back and what that does for the community, for those that you're giving back to, for your own spiritual self as well.
Yeah.
So I love this topic. It's kind of near and dear to my heart, and give back in as many ways as I can. Last year, we sponsored a gift giving program with the Dallas Casa organization to provide Christmases to children that are in the court system and may not have the means to have a good Christmas with full of gifts, right?
Yeah.
So we did that last year. I plan to do something similar. I'm working on that right now, but you guys are much further along in what your original goal was. And you know, you and I, we had talked about a year and a half ago, and Dustin, I think we were all sitting around at an event, and you guys were originally just kind of spitballing this, you know, and here we are a year and a half later, and you've gotten it off the ground, and you're raising funds. So why don't you just go into a little bit about what the organization is, how it came about, the beneficiaries, and what your goals and aspirations are.
Okay, yeah, sure. Thank you guys for having me on here today. Creek and Timber Legacy, our organization does hunts for wounded first responders, veterans, and then also critically diagnosed children as well for hunting and fishing and outdoor adventures is what it is. And so, like you alluded to, I think Dustin and I were on the way back from a hunting trip January of last year. We're talking about this, and we've done some other charity work like you were talking about around, the community. He and I served on the board for the Plano chapter of Ducks Unlimited this was our 8th year for that, and some other stuff. We had a school, here in McKinney that we've helped with, and a bunch of other different fundraisers. And we were coming back from this trip, and I was telling him about an experience that I'd had with a wounded veteran that was in a wheelchair that had gone on a hunt, and how happy he was with the hunt and stuff. But I think he kind of felt like he was putting a lot of people out at the hunting lodge because he was, he had a prosthetic that he wore during the day, but at night he tried to be in a wheelchair because it was just more comfortable. And the doorways weren't fully functional for that. The bathroom, wasn't. The blinds definitely weren't, equipped for, well for somebody with a wheelchair and stuff. And so there was a lot of, changes that had to happen in order for him to be able to have a successful hunt. And so, we were talking about that, and I said to Dustin, I said, it'd be good if we just went and, we could have the money to go buy a ranch, and we just outfit everything from the lodge to the vehicles to the blinds in order to, at the full extent, accommodate somebody that's in a wheelchair and is paralyzed. And he's like, yeah, that would be a good idea. And so that's kind of how the whole thing started. And then, we spent a couple different months talking about, different things, with that and everything. And then finally, there's one of our other founders is Justin Clark, who's a financial planner that we work with quite a bit. And he's also on the board with us of the Plano chapter of Ducks Unlimited. So he kind of got involved in, our talks as well. And, added some other insight of, how some other ways we could try to go, acquire a property, because, we were looking at something from anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 acres of, land. And, we were looking at, an expenditure of probably $4 to $5 million. And so we quickly decided that that was probably something we were going to have to go raise money for, more so than just donations. And that's kind of where, Justin came in to it, and we started talking more. And then finally it was like, hey, we got to, either put up or shut up. So we went and got, filed the paperwork for our 501c3, and we got that in October of last year. And then started doing some stuff, and made a lot of progress at the beginning of this year. We had actually talked to several different investors, had, a pool of money that was committed to us, and started going out and looking at ranches at the first part of March. And then all of a sudden, all the COVID stuff started happening. And by, April, we were in lockdown, and, all these different investors were, in very uncertain situations. So they pulled their money back, and we were just kind of stuck, and from there, we of course we focus on work.
Just jump in and say, "I got this."
Do what?
I said Dustin's pockets weren't deep enough. I got this.
Come on.
No. I don't think. I don't think we wanted to write a check at that point. So we. So then the COVID thing happened. Everybody had to go home from work, and we were focused on our jobs and family and livelihood at that part. So we were kind of frozen in time. I think from April to about May or June, and then finally it was like, okay, we got to go do something to start having some events. And so the first one that we thought was going to be pretty easy was to go out and take a group of 4 guys striper fishing at Texoma. So that was our first event that we did. That was in August, and we were able to get a couple of realtors that we knew and some other couple other individuals to help donate money. Got a guide. We took 2 Navy SEALs and a retired motorcycle police officer and another Marine veteran, all on this fishing trip. And man, we had an outstanding time. We actually, I realized that we got one of the best guides out there because there was 4 boats that left the marina that morning. We came back with 52 fish, 52 striper. One of the boats had 5, one had 3, and one had none. And so we definitely
close.
Yeah, we definitely decided that we had the right guy, and we're going to continue to do some other events with him. But that was a really good time, and to see some of these guys. So 2 of these guys that were Navy SEALs, they trained together and stuff, and they hadn't seen each other in 30 years until that day. They talked on the phone. One of them had lived in California and then just moved here to McKinney about 5 months ago, I guess back in January, February at this time. And they were talking on the phone and stuff. And, for them to go out and see that they, had, just hadn't seen each other in 30 years. And it was like they never missed a beat. They were, camaraderie there was, really good. And with a lot of them. And, that's one thing that we're, focused on. It's not all about, killing as much as you can or catching as much as you can. It's more about, getting them together and having a release, and not just them, it's the first responders. And then because of the absence, we found when I started researching nonprofits and stuff that was out there that was kind of in this same space, there was very much zero for kids, and especially kids that were, diagnosed with cancer or, some kind of heart disease or something that was, life-threatening, to be able to get them to be able to take their mind off of something and go do something that was fun and being in the outdoors. And so it was good to really see all that. And our second thing was to try to, we wanted to take 10 veterans out on a dove hunt on 9/11 and, do that. So we found the guide service. Actually, it was kind of funny. The way we came across them was on something else that they had posted on Facebook about a different type of hunt, and then teamed up with them on this dove hunt, and it was awesome. I mean, it was far more than I could have ever imagined that we put together for this. And again, we were able to go out and find some other local businesses and people that we knew to underwrite each one of these veterans, because the main thing is that we want this to be free to the veterans and their family that has to come with them on any of these trips, so that they don't have any out-of-pocket cost. And we have had other agencies that refer these people to us. I think out of the group of 10, we had 5 Purple Heart recipients, and then 1 Medal of Honor winner and 4 Bronze Star recipients on that hunt. So these were guys that went up way above and beyond. They suffered either whether it was shrapnel or or actually shot and in the middle of combat, and then was able to keep going rescue others and save additional lives outside of that and make it back. And so, I think they deserve a lot of different, things from us, and that's just a small part, doing that. So we were able to get that together. We took the 10 guys out to a place called Shady Trail, which is over in almost towards Abilene. Seymour, Texas is probably the closest place to that. And the accommodations were incredible. I mean, that was a whole lot more than, I could imagine. Had a really nice lodge. We had to, one of our mornings of hunting was not good because it rained for about probably 5 hours straight. And so that really messes up your dove hunting. But everybody had, a spectacular time. We went out that next morning and was able to shoot some birds. But, again, two groups of these guys served in combat together. And so it was good to, see them, be able to see people they haven't seen in, many years, as well. And just, seeing being able to, share, different experiences and stuff that they've had, during the conflicts they were in, after the conflicts that they've come back from, and how they've, tried to, move on into civilian life, and do other things. And so it was pretty eye-opening. And I think you mentioned that kind of earlier. Some of this has been more a blessing to us, being able to, do this, because it makes me more thankful for things that, I haven't had to do or haven't had to see or haven't had to experience, because they're out there doing that, and that's really a big gift back to us, I think, for, trying to get this to happen.
Shannon, real quick, I have I know you mentioned the camaraderie and the unity, and I think that's, I had a brother that served in the Air Force, and I was fortunate enough to be around when they had one of their little reunions up at our lease in Oklahoma. Nothing like what you guys are doing. It was just everybody kind of showed up there, and just sitting back, kind of being a fly on the wall and listening to their stories, and just seeing how excited they were to see each other again was really cool for me, because I never really thought of it that way. But talk a little bit also about some of these guys that are able to get outdoors. And when I say outdoors, I'm not talking about kind of like how we are here in city life, where we walk out and we go through a nice mowed yard to get to our vehicle. Yeah. I mean, they're actually out in the woods in a place that probably was very easily accessible to them before being in the military, and now it's a challenge for some of them. How does that impact them? What do you see when you are helping them and being a part of that?
We've seen, I mean, it really seems to energize them and bring them back to something, like you said, that they've done before. There was, out of those 10, we had one guy that had never been hunting before. So that was his first time to, go out hunting, and he really enjoyed it. Like, he's going to continue to do more going forward. But there were a lot of these guys that, hadn't been outdoors, hadn't been hunting or fishing since they were, either, in their teens or 20s, or, just before they went into the military.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's part of, getting it back and doing that. And, the time that we've been putting this together, there's a bunch of research I've looked at through everything from reports from, a couple of doctors at Harvard to, the Mayo Clinic and others, about how, being outside, doing different things in the outdoors, how energizing that is to you. And then also going back and being able to do something that you did prior to having some kind of traumatic experience. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a physical experience. It could be, we've got a couple of people, and, we're going to continue to do more, that have PTSD, and not just military, but also, police officers and firefighters and EMT people that, suffer from PTSD as well, because it's there's some kind of traumatic thing that they, are dealing with there. And so there's a bunch of different studies of that. And I think that's, that's another just another aspect of it, of, doing this, that they kind of get out of it. There's a recharge. There's an ability, kind of like, okay, things aren't as bad. I can still, do something that I've done before. And, so far we haven't, so we did have one soldier that we took on an axis hunt, and he's actually paralyzed from the chest down. And so we had to get him into, a UTV, get everything set up for him to, be able to shoot. And then it was a lot for us, both Hunter and Jay with 3L Hunting Adventures. I mean, they did an exquisite job. I got some video that's on our Facebook page and our website too, of that hunt, being out there with him, and how tough it was to be able to get him a good, clean, ethical shot on an animal, but then also, how happy he was, when he was able to actually, do that.
Right.
And, it's, he's probably got the most difficulty of anybody that we've worked with to this point. But, I hope that we continue to, do more of that. Like I said earlier, our long-term goal, is to get a place that's, at least 1,000 to 2,000 acres that we can set up a fully ADA compliant, lodge, can accommodate 20 to 30 people at a time, and blinds and stuff too, so that we can have these, hunting and fishing adventures 365 days a year if we want to book that many, so
Yeah.
that's our long-term goal.
Okay. What are some ways, what are you guys looking? I mean, I know you're just getting this off the ground. You talked a little bit about the investors and how COVID kind of threw a monkey wrench into that. What are you guys looking for now? What do you need at Creek and Timber? Who are you looking that can be a part of this and help see this thing come to fruition on how y'all want to make this happen?
Right. So like I said earlier, we decided we have a separate company that we've formed. It's called Union 28, and that is an entity that we were looking at investors for, to actually be able to purchase a property, and then that entity would then do a management agreement with Creek and Timber to be able to operate it and run our operation stuff on there. In the long term, and then we would pay an investment back to those people depending on the property and other hunting and fishing opportunities that we would do that would be open to the public on that side. And then from just, we're just like, the Red Cross or Wounded Warriors or any other, nonprofit. We're always looking for donors to help be able to pay for these different. We have four duck hunts and 5 hog hunts coming up in December and January, and so that's going to be. I think there was a total of 8, 24, like 32 hunters total.
Yeah.
And so we're looking for, whether it's companies or individuals that want to, donate money to, help pay for one of the veterans for those hunts. Fortunately, we've been able to work with different guide services that right now are giving us these hunts and stuff at a discount because, and it's all inclusive. I mean, there's food, lodging, and everything is included with this, and guides and stuff for it. And then, we're looking for any people that want to, there's people out there that want to have hands-on and, help us with, some of these events and fundraisers. We're open for that for sure.
Okay.
The more boots on the ground we have, the better. Kind of like the, same thing with Ducks Unlimited does. And then also just people, getting the word out there like we're doing right now today. So people, sharing it through social media or talking to, friends that they think that, might be able to help, or, if there's somebody that they want to nominate, we've opened up, nominations, online through social media for different people as recipients on this as well. So yeah, it's pretty broad spectrum.
Yeah, obviously. So investors, donations, volunteers, anybody, and then also if you know someone that is deserving of
Yeah. Right.
okay. So tell us a little bit. I mean, where all have you guys gone so far? Has it just been in Texas, or are you looking to be outside of Texas, or?
So far it's been in Texas. We are looking for our first property to be here because we're all here, and I think it'll help us to get there. But our 10-year plan is to have up to 4 other properties outside of the state of Texas, so that we can have different types of experiences. I think, I don't know, I've always heard either go big or go home.
Right.
So we're trying to expand this to what we can so that we're serving a bunch of different people. And when I started really doing research on the different nonprofits that were out there, kind of in a similar space, I was surprised. Wounded Warriors, which has been around for I think 20 years now, I guess. 15. In 2018, they raised $490 million, in funds to do their different outreach that they're doing. So that kind of gave me a mark for us to go after. I don't know if we'll ever achieve it, but you got to start somewhere.
That's right.
We got to swing for the fences, and that's something that that's a benchmark that we've looked at that we wanted to try to become or get to, and the number of people, I think we can help thousands of different people, if we can reach these goals on getting those.
Sure. Brian, you got anything to add?
Yeah, I do. Thanks for that awesome overview, Shannon. I've as you're talking, I wrote down a couple notes that sparked interest. And one of the nuggets I pulled out of there was, you mentioned that once COVID rolled around and everybody, had to kind of go back to looking at internally and preservation, you lost some funding there, and some investors pulled their funding back. What struck me as awesome is that local businesses stepped up and helped fund some of what I'll call smaller ideas. I love the grand idea of having 1,000-acre plus ranch in Texas, but you guys, I hate to use the word pivot because everybody's doing it now, but you guys did pivot, and you found a way to make this happen on a smaller scale, but with the same spirit of your original intention and the same beneficiaries and benefits to those beneficiaries, which I think is awesome. I want to segue that into something that I was talking to Dustin about, and that is,
part that you just mentioned is due to Dustin, because Dustin, as you know him personally, he's like a rolling stone. There's no moss that's ever going to gather on him because he's always going nonstop. So he couldn't wait for anything to go with that. So he helped push us, through on going, okay, let's make something happen, even if it's on a small scale.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That guy's a ball of energy. So hopefully he's able to join us just to, to frighten all of us. But the thing I wanted to segue to is a conversation I was having with Dustin was, so what are your short-term and long-term goals? And one of his short-term goals was, and I think we can probably talk about this. I think you might have a slide that we can put up, but it's something, he said very simply, he's looking for 100 local businesses or businesses in general to contribute $1,000 a piece to raise some funds for that. And
this is different. This is a thing that we are doing. This is a raffle. One of the guide services has given us a hunt that's probably a value of about $3,500 to $4,500, on their face value. of it, and we're selling 100 raffle tickets for $100 a ticket. So there's 100 chances. It's not like there's 1,000 or 2,000 people are going to be in this. You got 1 in 100, or if you buy more tickets, you got that many times in 100 to win this hunt. So that's what that is. But I think what he was talking to you about on the businesses side is these duck hunts and thermal hog hunting. I don't know. There's probably not a whole lot of people out there that know what that is, but people that like to hunt and fish, they know what thermal hog hunting is. And so we've got, like I said, we've got four duck hunts for up to 8 guys on each one of those, and then 4 hog hunts with up to 4 guys with each one of those. So that's probably the number that he was talking about, of trying to get to that, to raise enough money for us to pay for all those different hunters on there. So that's coming up. And that'll be December and January. So yes, we're definitely looking for, any of those businesses, and we're a 501c3, so it's a tax deduction for those who are doing that. Same thing with those raffle tickets. If you buy the raffle ticket, it's a tax deduction whether you win or not. So that's probably what he was talking about from that. And I didn't have a flyer or anything on that, but I do have something that we can share later on each one of these hunts, the thermal hog.
Yeah, get that to us, Shannon, and I'll make sure we get it on our social media page as well. I got a quick question, and you just made me.
Those are in the Wichita Falls area.
Okay.
So they're pretty local. I mean, within less than 3 hours of here.
Yeah. Okay. Real quick question. The hog. You mentioned thermal hog hunts, and there's a lot of farmers that are being impacted by overrun of feral hogs and things like that. Have you considered, or are you considering at all doing any type of predator hunts, coyote hunts, and things like that, helping local ag and farmers out, and kind of get some management going with that?
Yes, and that's some of the other hunts that we're doing. I don't know if we'll get any done this year on the whitetail side, but for the exotic game, so like the axis deer, fallow, red stag, black buck, antelope, those we're working with some other high fence, hunting lodges to try to do some what we want to call a meat hunt, or help them manage their herds with their herd management. And then the same thing with predation, as well. So yes, we're doing these hogs. Actually, that's how 2 of these ranchers up in Wichita Falls approached this guide service that we've been working with, and said, "Hey, we're overrun with these hogs. They're tearing up our ranch roads. They're messing with our calves. During the 2 calving seasons and stuff. And so they want to get rid of them. And so so we're doing this, and we've got people that are providing the equipment for us to be able to go out and do these thermal hog hunts, because
that's awesome.
The scopes used for those, as you know, are not cheap.
No.
So the good thing is we found contacts that have those, and they're going to let us borrow those for these events. But yeah, that's definitely. And we're working with with some of the food banks as well, that will take exotic or wild game.
Right.
And there's a couple of those we've been able to find in Central Texas. And so we're working with trying to find somebody that will process that meat as well for them, and then provide that donation to those food banks too for that meat.
That's awesome. I was just wondering about that, because I was like, and you get out on a pretty good hog hunt, and you can load up. And what's sad about that is even loading up doesn't seem to make a dent sometimes in the population. But then what do you do with all the meat? And that's great that you guys have thought and planned that out.
That's where it's good. I think working with these ranch owners, they in order to keep up their herds and the health of their herds, they have to take out so many animals a year, and so this is helping them with that. That's not something that people always want to go do. Everybody wants a trophy to put on their wall.
Right.
But these are, not that, and it's two or three folds. It's helping the recipients that we're trying to do. It's also giving them meat if they want it, or we're able to donate it to another family for them to have it. It's a win-win-win there.
Absolutely. Man, this is really awesome. So you've done a striper. You did the a couple of. I believe I saw. Did you guys get somebody on an elk recently, or?
Yes. So that was Colin, and it was originally, it's not a good thing. It's really unfortunate with everything that we're going through, with all the negativity that we see every day in social media and the news. But that hunt was originally an axis deer hunt that was donated by 3L Hunting Adventures, and he was doing that. So we were trying to get him on an axis deer, and it was really difficult. They're really elusive. They were always in really thick, brush and stuff. So it was really hard because we were having to get him lined up perfectly because he could only move his arms. He couldn't move his torso to move around. He was paralyzed from the upper part of his chest down, and so we were having to get him a straight on shot at whatever he was looking at, and it was getting pretty difficult. So by the early morning of the second day, Jay, the guide, reached out to the ranch owner, and we were cutting across this field, and we saw these two elk laying underneath a tree, and he looked at them. We stopped, and we're just looking at them, and then Jay saw that one of them was, for lack of a better term, a cull. Even though he's huge. And so he immediately picks the phone up and sends a text message to the ranch manager and to the property owner and said, "Hey, can you, make us a deal on shooting this elk?" And, after about, it's pretty funny because it was only probably maybe 2 or 3 minutes, they responded and was like, "Yeah, go for it." And so all of a sudden, Jay turns over to Colin and he's like, "Well, get the rifle ready." And he goes, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Well, we're going to go shoot one of those elk." And he goes,
Oh,
"What do you mean we're going to go shoot an elk? I'm here to shoot axis." He goes, "Well, we're going to go kill one of those elk. So get the gun up."
that's a pretty good upgrade.
By the time we went around, I really thought I was starting to feel bad because I'm sitting in the back seat and I'm filming this thing, and the bigger elk of the two, he gets up and pretty much takes off as soon as we started getting closer. Originally, we were probably 500 yards away. And then as we started getting closer, he hightailed it out of there. And then the other one, he kind of went around this pond and started walking away from us with his butt to us going up this hill. And I thought, man, we're not even going to get a shot at this thing. And sure enough, he pulled the Polaris in line, and he said, "Well, if you can get him behind the shoulder." And about as soon as he said that, pow, the gun went off and that thing dropped.
Wow, that's cool.
So, he had pretty limited opportunity, but he made full advantage of it. It was, and I was glad. I think I was as happy as he was. And, his adrenaline was still, pumping afterwards. You could see his hands were still shaking,
Right.
after shot that, because it's big. I wish we had a picture of it because it's a nice elk. If I'd have seen it out anywhere else, I'd have shot it too.
Right.
It's a really nice bull, and that's probably going to give him. It was probably 900 pounds, live weight. So I think he's probably going to end up with about 500 pounds worth of some really good.
Golly, that's awesome.
Off of that thing too.
So for just real quick, for people that may not really understand the hunting process, and there's sometimes a public negative connotations about hunting, and they seem to think that, oh, it's high fence and it's like shooting animals or shooting fish in a barrel. You and I both know how difficult and challenging hunting is. When you have use of all your extremities, and you are physically capable of doing everything that God allows you to do. Hunting's hard. Those animals just don't sit there and wait for you to come up and
Right. Yeah.
and so
They're programmed to flee.
yes, talk about that. Talk about that challenge of everything. All the stars have to line up to make this work, and that's kind of what you were saying in that story. That the challenges of any hunter to get an ethical shot is always a challenge, but then to take someone with physical limitations and you guys have the determination and get the equipment, and then it's still a challenge. It's not guaranteed. Talk a little bit about how those challenges are and how satisfying that is when you get everything to come together for that guy or that girl that just might have thought they were never going to have that experience again.
Yeah, yeah, and that's true. I mean, we were sitting there, and people don't realize, how hard the guides are working, and everybody else, behind the scenes is working to try to make sure that this is, happen. And that's probably the most challenging one that I've, ever been a part of trying to do. I mean, I've taken my daughter and other kids, that were teenagers or preteens, hunting and trying to do the same thing with them. But it's nothing like when you got somebody that's completely paralyzed, and you're having to make the things work for them. And but it was actually going out there. I mean, we had different choices. We could have sat in a blind for hours at a time, hoping that something would show up. But that's not how. That goes back to what you were talking about getting out there and hunting. It's not a canned hunt, and I tried to put together a lot more video of it to make a longer version to see, so that people could really see what else went on. I mean, the 2 minutes that I filmed, was out of probably, I don't know, 36 hours. So yeah. It's a lot different. But we also have the free range stuff that we're doing as well. I mean, it's not the reason that we were looking at a high fence property is so that we have the ability to hunt or fish 365 days a year, because they aren't native species, and there's not a set federal hunting season for them.
We also need the opportunity to create the accessibility, which you can't do that.
Right. We can raise a greater number of animals, and we know. I mean, we can do kind of a head count or a survey and know approximately, probably within an 80% accuracy of how many animals are in that property.
Right.
But that's that takes time and effort, to come up with that as well.
Right. But what I was alluding to, though, is just having the accommodations to fit some of the people with their handicaps and things like that, where you just cannot do that out in a remote area. I mean, it's it's impossible to accommodate them comfortably, and to have the lodge and all the facilities.
You got lower beds, lower countertops, for and that's the extreme. I mean, there are there's some that have the functionality, but we're trying to have the accommodations for both. I mean, and
true.
And I've been surprised. We've already reached out to several manufacturers, from ATVs to the hunting blinds that are willing to make accommodations. That was a big thing, is how we were going to get this rifle situated and be able to be steady, for him to be able to shoot out of this vehicle, or when it's once we've stopped. And so we've talked to different people about that. There's some manufacturers out there. There's people that are willing to work with us, and that is one good side. I mean, yes, there's plenty of anti-hunters out there. I get that. I've dealt with that my entire life.
Right.
I've been hunting since I was about 3. And it's okay. That's okay. That's their prerogative, and it's
Sure.
it is what it is. But the industry, these people wanting to give and do these things because they know how it is. They know what these people are feeling and what they want to do and stuff, and they want to give back. So, to make these calls, and I'm waiting for it to get finalized. But we've got a local auto dealership that's going to donate a 4-wheel drive Suburban to us. And with a bunch of different bells and whistles on it to do different stuff, and just that in itself, I would have never even thought that was something that was plausible.
Right.
A year ago, and the same thing as we're talking to a lot of these different manufacturers. Unfortunately, with the COVID, we were able to talk to some manufacturers back in January when the Dallas Safari Club had their big trade show here down in Dallas at the convention center, and there was 3,000 exhibitors down there, and we were able to talk a lot of people there in person. There was a bunch of things that were supposed to happen this summer in August that were all canceled, so we didn't get to talk to people there. But just them going, yes, we can make these modifications to the blind to put a wheelchair up in there and still have 3 other people if you want it, and then we can have one where we can raise the level of it, if you want, or make it more portable to some of these different add-ons to a UTV, where you can put a wheelchair up on the back of this and strap everything down and lock them into to the back of this this UTV, and be able to get around to more remote areas. To do that. Yeah. So it's been really eye-opening. It's like I said earlier, there's not enough of that about how much good things are happening out there in the world, and the people that are out there to do these things, unfortunately, but to see it and live it, it's been pretty good.
I think it's cool that, with what you guys are creating, and you're talking about doing all that research and connecting with different people. It's got to be pretty awesome for you to realize the generosity of because we don't see that every day. I mean, us three talk just about every week, and we're all good guys, but we don't have necessarily the type of conversations that when you're talking to a stranger, Shannon, and you're explaining what y'all are trying to do, and just the enthusiasm and willingness of someone to contribute and maybe make some adjustments and to help out the people that are less fortunate or that go through those challenges. That's got to be kind of cool from your perspective of that's got to be uplifting every day.
I was blown away, and I'll give you a perfect example. Jay Treadaway, which he's going to probably kill me because he doesn't like to get a lot of attention, but he was one of the guys that we reached out to about putting this dove hunt together. And I talked to him the next morning. It was funny because we instant messaging his webpage about 10 o'clock at night when Dustin and I were sitting there talking, BSing. And he responded and said, "Hey, I'm interested in talking about this. Call me in the morning." So I called and talked to him that morning and told him what we were doing, told him about the organization. So that night, he sent me a text message about 9 o'clock. He said, "Hey, my wife and I, really, I went to your webpage. I saw this. We really want to help and be a part of this. So call me in the morning." So I call him the next morning, and he says, after talking to my wife and looking at your site and praying about it, he goes, "We're going to pay for 5 of your hunters to come out here." So, I mean, he and his wife made the donation for half of the people that we took on that trip.
Very cool.
And that was in a 3-day period that happened, from the first interaction that we had to him until him doing that, never meeting him face to face before then or any of that. So those are the stories that, it's amazing to me. But he served in the military. He was in the Navy, and he understood that, and he's an outdoors person, and makes that as a living now. And so, he wanted to give back in a big way to that. And, because of him being in the service, he understood what we were trying to do and what a lot of those people have gone through.
Sure.
Which was probably one reason he did it. But I was blown away. That was not what I was expecting on that phone call whatsoever.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. A lot of good people out there. And so want to remind everybody, we've got the web address up on screen now for people to see if they want to go to creekandtimberlegacy.org to find out how to be more involved in what you guys are doing. Also, that's in the comments, so they can just actually click on that link and go to it. Is there any other way to get in touch with you, or who are you the main point of contact?
There, so they can, myself, Dustin, or Justin Clark. All of our contact information is on the website, emails, and our cell phone. They can get to us on that, and then also just so people, this is not all hunting and fishing. We've got some just outdoor stuff for camping for kids on some of these places that we're going to be doing as well, of just introducing somebody to the outdoors. So it's not all about killing.
Right.
There's just some relaxation and being out in nature, as you talked about earlier too. I think we've got some things for everybody, basically.
Sure.
In that picture.
Okay. Any last comments? We've got a few minutes left, and but anything else that we didn't cover today, Shannon, that you want to cover, or Brian, anything that you want to contribute to this?
Yeah, I think I just think what you guys are doing is awesome. I love your target audience, your target beneficiaries. Kind of wrapping it to the theme of the show. It's you guys are giving back to the veterans who gave us so much, to the first responders who did the same, and to those who may be terminally ill. Giving them an opportunity that either they may not have much more time for, or may not have had that opportunity to do in a long time. So
yeah, that's a big thing for me. I know that several of these organizations out there that were doing before have kind of gotten pressed, by political pressure, and they've stopped doing, granted, these hunts for kids and stuff. And when I found that out, I was kind of like, look, I don't care what my personal belief is, but if a 10-year-old that's dying of cancer tells me they want to go shoot a deer, I want to take them to go shoot a deer.
Absolutely.
Or whatever, regardless of how I feel personally, because it's not about me, it's about them. And so it's kind of, unfortunately, it was a last, it was a last thought or a second thought in what our initial plan was, but I think it's probably going to be a really big part of what we do in our grand plan.
No, and I think that's awesome. You guys have taken, your personal passions and expanded on those and made them available to those who can really use it. So that's why I wanted to have you guys on the show today, just to get this message out to those who are interested in, contributing, whether it's financially or, time or whatever their abilities could be. That's on the bottom of the screen. We have the website.
You just repost one of our posts. They can just repost one of our posts. They don't even have to do anything else. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah. Share all the posts. Right. Go to the Facebook page for Creek and Timber and just share some more. That's one of the best contributions.
We're working on content out there.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to get the eyes and the ears on what you're doing, and you'll find the support. There's no doubt about that. So, Shannon, good to see you again, man. I want you to know that the difference is here for you guys in any way that we can. We're working on building a bigger and bigger audience each and every day and each and every week. We got fantastic folks like Brian Poduska that has a good show, and so as we build our audience, we want to make sure that we can help folks like you and with what y'all are doing to tap into that audience and maybe find the person that's going to make the difference for you and your organization. So
Thank you.
anything that we can do on this side, let me know.
Okay, good deal. I appreciate the time very much.
Absolutely. Well, Brian, you wanna close us out and tell everybody a little bit more about real property management, and then we'll be back again next week at 1:00 on Thursday.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Shannon, for being on the show. Tell Dustin he owes me lunch for not showing up.
He owes us lunch for not showing up, so
Yeah,
I want in on that too.
Yeah, me too. I mean,
Yeah, well, all three of us. He stood us all three up, so at least he can.
Nicely for him and with him. So yeah, he owes us all lunch and drinks. But anyway, no, thanks again for being on the show. I'm glad we could get a little bit more word out on your guys' organization and you know what people can do to help out. If you want to know more about real property management, check us out, www.realpmfocus.com, or call us up at 469-820-0088. Again, Brian Poduska with Real Property Management Focus, where we focus on your real estate investments, and we'll see you all next week.